Hello and good morning this thankful Thursday. Today, I want to share a true story with you, my story. See, some years ago, I was in a place where mentally and physically I was feeling beat down. I was being a wife, a mother, and I had a relationship with God. I've always felt like I had a relationship with God. Even as a child, my mom would take us to church. And so I always knew that and believed in a higher power. Okay. But at this time in my life, I was frustrated. I was I had gotten injured on my job and I was still pushing a little uh, caboose, still, because I got a family, you know. At the time, uh, things just wasn't, I was just feeling stressed, overwhelmed. My daughters, they're 8.5 years apart. So one is in elementary school and the other is going into high school. And I just was tired of the same routine. And I also wanted to relocate. I was ready to move. I was grateful to be in the place where I was living. It was my first home, a starter home. And people were saying, girl, this ain't no starter home. This is because it was nice. It was nice size, um, with a pool. But for me, it was just in the wrong location. So I wasn't pleased. I didn't like the through traffic that came through every morning. There was an elementary school on the corner, and I would just get hordes of traffic going past my home. And, they would tear up my yard, digging in, looking for frogs, and the parents wouldn't say anything. So when I wasn't working, I would have to man my front yard and be like, get out of my bushes, get off my grass, get away, just stop it already, go over there to the ravine and collect your frogs, but stay off of my lawn, so I wasn't happy. And my brother, he said, you know what, girl, your house looks like it's in the wrong neighborhood. He said, and no pun intended, but he says, your home looks like it should be in the nicer area. I thought about that and I go, you're right. When I pull out my little cul-de-sac and go down and around the street, what am I seeing? All the signs that I'm seeing. Now, again, I was grateful to be in that home. Was able to move in it and get it and purchase it. And I thought that was a true blessing. Loved it. They accepted our offer without countering. So I thought it was a blessing initially. But as they say, sometimes we outgrow something. So, like I said, it got to the point where I was just like, you know what? I can do better. I can do better. Again, my body's taking all this beating at work. Lord, what's next? What's next? I have faith in you, but you're going to have to show me, you're going to have to help me. So one day I was just, I don't know if the job set me off or what it was. Like I said, my body was hurting. Okay. My body was, I was going through it. Let's just say it was broken down and I was just like, having these aches and pains. And, I was in a neck brace for like almost a month at one point because I had messed up my cervical. And I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. God, this is so hard. Help me. And so I remember driving to the Rite Aid, and which is a local chain out here. And I remember pulling into the parking lot, wiping my face because, although, I'm trying to, fix myself to go into the store, my heart was heavy. And I'm sure it read on my face, as they say, you could read people. Well, you could see that I had been crying and just going through it. So as I proceed to go into the store, I'll never forget it. This visual has been burnt in my head. This man whom I have never seen again. As I'm going in the store, he's going out and our paths cross. Now, this man was dressed in all white from head to toe. And he had a white turban on his head and he had some facial hair. He looked Middle Eastern. I didn't think he was Hindu. And I just thought, that's odd. You don't see too many people dressed like that. So as I'm going past and our paths cross, he says to me, "Don't worry about anything. Next month, around the 12th, you're going to be okay." And I remember looking at him, and my first thought was to say, "Who are you talking to? You don't know me." But a peace came over me, and I caught myself. And I just said, whatever, I walked on. He walked out the store. That was all that was said. He didn't say, "Hi, what's your name? What are you going through?" Anything else to know me. But that, "Don't worry about a thing. Next month, around the 12th, you're going to be just fine." So I go on in, shop, do my thing, and what he said went in, but I had things to do, so I didn't resonate on it too much. The rest of the month, we were toward the middle end of, well, probably 2 months, two weeks out to go into the new month. So I continued my daily routine, working, coming home, cooking, cleaning, getting things ready for the next day to do it all over again. Still getting upset because I'm not caring about the area that I'm living in. So one day I go out and pull up at a park and read the Bible. So as I'm driving and I turn in this one neighborhood, drive out of my neighborhood, pull into another neighborhood, I see this open house. These people were selling their home and they were having an open house. And so, knowing that I was nowhere near as ready to move, but I thought, you know what? Let me go check out this house. I got out my car, I walked in the house, and I'm just like taken back. And I'm just like, wow, nice. Why are these people selling this house? This house is nice. So that put the bug in my spirit, From that point on, I was like, you know what? You want a house, a different house than what you're living in? You need to get out and go look. So from that point on, I began to look for homes. Every open house, got a realtor, and then people were saying, "You should come here, you should come there, you should do this, do that." But I began the process, is what I'm saying. not thinking anything about it, about anything else. I kid you not. The 12th of that next month came and I received a blessing. And everything that I had been praying for had come to fruition. Now, mind you, like I said, I had just been, uh, building up my spiritual fervor. I was still, believing and trusting in God. So I had been reading my scriptures, and one particular scripture I had come across, and immediately when I received that blessing, the scripture came to mind, Hebrews 13:2, that said, "Do not neglect to entertain strangers, for by doing so, you have entertained angels without knowing it or unaware." So from that point forward, that man that told me next month, everything's going to be okay. Don't worry. Everything is going to be okay. And like I said, it kind of took I took what he said and put it to the back of my mind, and it kind of resonated as things went on. But I guess it kind of took a little of the stress off of me. But it allowed me to remember whenever I meet someone on the streets or someone approaches me, don't get an attitude in the beginning. Wait to see. Or just go ahead, because there's some other scriptures that talks about if someone asks and is in need, give it to them. So when people come up to you and they go, "You got $1, or holding a sign, I need food," if you have something in your car at that particular time, a sandwich, an apple, fruit, whatever it is, give it to them. If you have $1 or some change, give it to them. Because by doing so, you don't know if an angel's testing you to see what your heart stance is, where you are in life, to see how selfish or how unselfish you are in your giving. Because, see, we are blessed when we don't block our blessings by not giving. A closed fist cannot receive. So keep that in mind on this Thankful Thursday. And until next time, we'll see you around for another story time for true stories. Bye.